Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Sai SATCHARITRA, an insight. Episode 230. My humble prostrations at the lotus feet of our Sadguru Sai. By the divine grace of Sai, an attempt has been made to translate the gist of the divine discourse of Sri Ramanathan brother telecasted in Sai TV. This is purely done to share the glory of Sai and his divine teachings with more insight to the aspirants. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Devotees, we have been heeding to Sri Sai Leelas related to Raghuveer Bhaskar Purandare. In the previous episode, we listened to the miracle related to Sri Sai Baba permitting Purandare to plant the saplings at Shiradi. But initially, permission was not granted, and it was already 3 days the plant started to dry, so Purandare was very upset and began to cry. At that juncture, Sri Sai Maharaj spoke to Purandare thus, "Bhav, why do you cry while I am sitting here, engrossed in your thoughts and incessantly chanting your name?" Devotees, what an ocean of compassion Sri Sai Maharaj must be to utter these loving words to Purandare. How fortunate is Purandare that his name was incessantly chanted by Sri Sai Baba. These assertions were also made by Sri Sai for the most ardent devotees such as Nana Sahib Chandorkar, Kaka Sahib Dikshit, Dumal and a few others. So listeners need not have any doubt on this. Regarding Dumal, Sri Sai Maharaj said, "I can be awake whole night occupied in the thoughts of Dumal." Similarly, Sri Sai Maharaj mentioned that every minute of the day he spent thinking about Purandare. Sri Sai also said that he is wonderstruck to see the unswerving faith of Purandare. If we recall the assertions of Sri Sai Maharaj, we can perceive that he is not an extrovert in disclosing his opinions about devotees. But surprisingly, in the case of Purandare, he explicitly spoke his thoughts about him. This is because Purandare's loving devotion to his Guru was unparalleled. As soon as Sri Sai Maharaj gave his consent to plant the saplings immediately, Purandare rushed to Radhakrishna Mai and conveyed the good news. Disregarding the time, they both went with a shovel to bring the soil under the banyan tree as instructed by Sri Sai Baba. 2 other devotees by named Tatya Mureshwar and Damaji Master also helped Purandare in this task. The banyan tree was next to Kote Patil's field. Tatya Mureshwar and Damaji were engaged in shoveling the soil under the banyan tree, while Radhakrishna Mai and Purandare were digging pits on either side of the road from Chavadi to Satewada to plant the saplings. This Satewada is the present Gurusthan, so this path leads one from Chavadi to Lendibag. While Purandare walks to the banyan tree to collect the soil shoveled and brings it to fill the pit, and Radhakrishna Mai plants the saplings. They commenced the work at 9 p.m. and continued to work throughout the night. It was dawn and already time for Kakadarati. Only then they completed planting the saplings. Devotees must recall that Sri Sai Maharaj had clearly instructed that morning plants will not take root and had to be planted by night. All the 4 worked extremely hard to complete the task before dawn. None of them rested after this. Instead, 3 of them, except Sri Radhakrishna Mai, had their shower and came to attend the Kakadarati. Purandare felt very happy that his task was accomplished. But as soon as Kakadarati got over, as per the routine, Sri Sai Baba walked to Lendibagh and while returning from there, noticing the plants, asked, "What's all this drama?" and called Kondaji to uproot all the plants. Purandare was seated on the porch of Radhakrishna Mai's house. Hearing this order of Sri Sai Baba, he was very upset. Everyone feared that all the plants would be uprooted, but on the contrary, the following day a gardener was appointed to water and take care of the plants. When the saplings were planted, they were all dried, but by the divine grace of Sri Sai Maharaj, they grew well and gave plenty of fragrant flowers and were used in the worship of Sri Sai Maharaj. Thus, Purandare's wish was fulfilled. Ramanathan brother says that this Leela reminds him about the Siddha Purusha by named Pullan Swamigal. A similar divine sport was transpired by him too. Pullan Swamigal had the practice of eating a handful of roasted peanuts as one of his meals. There was an ardent devotee of Pullan Swamigal who had the similar characteristics as that of our Purandare. This devotee was very closely associated with Pullan Swamigal. One day, while Swamiji was eating the nuts, he asked, "Any food when roasted will lose its vitality. So why are you consuming them? What good will it do to you?" Swamiji laughed out loud and said, "Who told you that when the food item gets roasted or boiled, it will lose its life? Their shape and color may change, but the vitality will not be lost." This devotee cannot be convinced of that easily. He asked, "So Swamiji, if we plant these roasted kernels, will it grow into a plant?" Pullan Swamigal said, "Karutha manam velukum, davathal varutha kadalai mulaikum." Anything voiced out by a Siddha Purusha will transpire because their utterances are like sankalpam. Immediately, Swamigal threw the roasted nuts that he had in his palm onto the soil. The devotee couldn't get the gist of the parable spoken by Swamigal, and contemplating on that, he went home. Exactly after 5 days, while the devotee was talking to Pullan Swamigal and trekking exactly at the spot where the kernels were thrown, lo, all the kernels sprouted, and Pullan Swamigal pointed it out to the devotee and said, "Did you notice the power of meditation? Roasted kernels sprouted." So devotees, this miracle is parallel to what Sri Sai Maharaj did in the case of the plants that Purandare had brought. They all dried, but Sri Sai Baba, by his divine grace, made them survive. Let us see one more divine sport connected to the above Leela transpired by Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, says Ramanathan brother. Once, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa was talking about the glory of the God to a group of devotees. He was narrating many parable stories that portrayed the divine powers of the great Lord. A devotee who was listening to all this wanted to test this on Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. So he said, "You are saying God can make even unfeasible things happen. If so," pointing to a red rose plant there, asked, "Will this plant give white rose instead of red rose?" Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, being an incarnation of God, said, "Nothing is impossible for him," and added, "If that be God's will, then it will give out white roses for sure." The very next day, the plant was in full blossom and there were red roses, but also white roses bloomed on a few of the branches. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, pointing to the plant, said to the devotee, "Did you see the mercy of the Lord?" This is one of the divine sports of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Devotees, when these supreme beings can revive the life of a dead person without giving any aid, such as Mrityu Sanjeevani, then reviving the dead plants is not a great deed for them. Getting back to the original thread, let's listen how Purandare was saved from trouble at his office. As we have heard in the previous episode, whenever Purandare desired to see Sri Sai Baba, even if he is at work, immediately he will sign off from his job, send a message to his home and board the train to Shirdi. He always had the pull to see Sri Sai Maharaj. Sri Sai Maharaj had instructed Purandare to serve him associating with Kaka Sahib Dikshit. So, every time the latter plans to go to Sri Sai Baba's darshan, Purandare would also accompany him. Though his hometown was Mumbai, he spent most of his time in Shirdi. He was employed in the workshop of GIP Railways, which is a government job. His yearly leave got exhausted as he stayed for many number of days at Shirdi. Despite this, his return from Shirdi was always as per the will of Sri Sai Maharaj. Purandare would leave Shirdi only when Sri Sai Baba permits him, and that will always be uncertain. Though Sri Sai Baba would rebuke him for coming to Shirdi often, he yearned to see Purandare and wanted him to be always in his presence. Once, during the year 1912, he came to Shirdi for darshan and Sri Sai Baba made him stay for few days while Purandare didn't have any leave. At that juncture, Shama came and told Sri Sai Baba, "Baba, why don't you send Bob? He is working at office. His leave already got exhausted. He will be in trouble. His higher officials will get upset with him. So please send him back." Sri Sai Baba responded thus, "Who is his higher official? I am his superior. No one else can be his superior. I knew when he had to go." Purandare was least bothered about his job or leave. He never worried about that. His job was not the priority. He wasn't scared about his job. The only significant aspect for him is to be in Shirdi at the service of Sri Sai Baba. It was already Monday, but until Wednesday evening he wasn't permitted to go. By evening, Sri Sai Maharaj allowed him to leave Shirdi. To reach Mumbai, he had to go to Kopargaon from Shirdi, then to Manmad, and from Manmad he had to board a train to Mumbai, then to Boribandar, because his office was at Boribandar. So, by the time Purandare reached his office, it was noon 1 p.m. So, almost 3.5 days of the week, he is absent without giving any prior notice. His foreman, being his immediate superior, was extremely upset with Purandare's attitude towards work. So, he called for Purandare and questioned him for taking leave without intimation and joining duty at his will. He also said in an angry tone, "So, should I take disciplinary action against you?" If it had been any other employee, he would have got scared and upset. Whereas Purandare went and picked up a paper and pen, wrote down his resignation letter. Devotees, this is Purandare. His work is not his top priority. His heart and soul yearns to be in Shirdi. He submitted his resignation letter. The foreman was shocked at this sudden turn of event. The deputy superintendent is the one in charge of the workshop, and it was Mr. Wilson for this workshop. In the hierarchy, there were 4 to 5 superiors from foreman to deputy superintendent, and he knew that Purandare goes to Shirdi often to have darshan of Sri Sai Maharaj. Now, the foreman forwarded the letter to Mr. Wilson, and he called Purandare to give his reason for resigning the job. Purandare narrated in detail the events that took place in Shirdi during this visit and explained that the devotees will not leave Shirdi until Sri Sai Maharaj permits them to, and as he was not given permission until Wednesday evening, he couldn't come to work. He also said if anyone would leave Shirdi without Sri Sai Baba's consent, then they would face mishap and trouble, and that's the reason for not attending work these 3 days of the week. During the British rule, if the employees would even try to speak out their views, they would be dismissed from work. So the workers never gained guts to speak up their thoughts, whereas Purandare, without any fear, voiced out his situation. Moreover, he wasn't reasoning it out to his immediate superior, but to the one who is in a very higher ladder in the administration hierarchy. Looking at the events, Purandare's colleagues thought that his resignation would be accepted by Mr. Wilson. After listening to Purandare, the officer called out for the foreman that questioned the latter and warned him to never question Purandare on his absence. Then ripped off the resignation letter and threw it in the trash. Advised Purandare to go and carry on with his work. Mr. Wilson also spoke in a stern voice to the foreman thus: "You cannot take any action on Purandare. You are not his superior. Whatever may be the case, I will deal with him. He is not bound to you." Devotees, certainly this is a miracle of Sri Sai Baba. The foreman is also at no fault because it is his duty to supervise the workers. If they don't report on time or take unauthorized leave, then he must question them. Now, exactly after 6 months, Purandare was granted double promotion and raised to the cadre of senior foreman. The foreman that questioned Purandare in the above instance became his subordinate now. Isn't this a wonderful Leela of Sri Sai Maharaj? As decreed by Sri Sai, the foreman is no more a boss to Purandare. Thus, innumerable astounding Leelas were transpired by Sri Sai Baba in the life of Purandare. We can heed to those in the coming episode. Bo to Sri Sai, peace be to all. Om Sai Ram.